Welcome to the season 2 of the India Energy Hour podcast. The India Energy Hour podcast explores the most pressing hurdles and promising opportunities of India's energy transition through an in depth discussion on policies, financial markets, social movements, and science. The podcast is hosted by energy transition researcher and author Dr. Sandeep Pai and senior energy and climate journalist Shreya Jay. The show is produced by multimedia journalist Tejas Dayananda Sagar.
Since 2003, when the electricity market in India opened up to private investment, variety of market mechanisms also came up along with it. Long-term power purchase agreements have been the backbone of power supply in the country, but other short and medium-term contracts have helped meeting sudden demand surge, acted as bridge supply, and lately given sale options to renewable energy. Similar contracts have now emerged in the gas market as well. To understand how the Indian energy trading market works, how it can be made more efficient and real-time, we talked with Rajesh K Mediratta. Mediratta is a sector veteran and has worked with Load Despatch Centres, power system operator, and has been instrumental in launching India's first electricity trading platform, Indian Electricity Exchange. He is currently MD and CEO Indian Gas Exchange.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here at the India Energy Hour. It's a delight always to talk with you. And we were very, very excited to have you for this episode, not only because I've known you for so many years, also because you have such a huge bank of knowledge, which we can't wait for you to share with our listeners.
Thank you, Shreya. Thanks for having me on this conversation. It will be really great to talk about sector and whatever you would like to me to talk on or about. Please go ahead.
Great. We will be discussing about the power trading markets in India today. But before we do that, let us know about you. You are a veteran in this sector and you're considered a very seasoned power trading market expert, or I must now say energy trading expert, given that now you spearhead the gas exchange as well. Tell us about yourself, your professional journey. Where are you from? What did you study? How did you land in this sector? Just tell us about yourself, please.
First thing is that veteran is a bit heavy word, but of course I can take credit of being having some expertise in markets, particularly power, and then later I got into gas. So gas is also one of my now area of having skills. So I got very interesting journey. I'll briefly take you through my journey of professional career. I started my professional career being power system operator in a regional system operators operation center. So earlier that center was part of government. It was part of CA. We used to call it as WREB or WRPC. And for almost 8 years, I was there with them. And I have gone into almost all aspects of power system in terms of operation, in terms of protection, in terms of commercial, energy accounting, settlement for Western region. So Western region is actually consists of states of Gujarat, Maharashtra, MP, Chhattisgarh. So for these states, and these states were operating as one region, and for that I used to be. I've got experience in almost all aspects of system operation. So it started my career being a part of government service, Indian Engineering Services. Then I later joined or moved to Power Grid. That time the Center for System Operation is called as WREB, then WRLDC. So now people know it as more of a POSOCO, a part of POSOCO, WRLDC, situated in Bombay. And then, and that was about almost 2 decades I spent there in all aspects of system operation. And we did many new things. First time in the country, that was like setting up of energy accounting and settlement system. There was new energy accounting and settlement system, which we call as ABT, availability based tariff. So that was implemented. I was part of that team, a key member of the team, and we implemented first time in the country in Western region. And also I was involved in putting the similar system in place for state of Gujarat. So that was also first time in the country. So after having achieved or done these two major projects, which were first time, so I was getting a bit more interested in power exchanges. So that time there was some discussion started. So it was year 2006 that we started talking about power exchanges. And I used to, maybe you can call it as like dream about such an exchange in the country, and then what can be the model of that exchange. And there was, of course, some discussions there. And then I suddenly one day got an offer from a company, and that company is multi-commodity exchange. So they wanted to set up a power exchange, and they came to me for joining this new initiative. And then I immediately agreed, though it was all secure job in Power Grid. So, but I thought that this is the opportunity I should be using or moving to. And then I joined MCX to start working on IEX. And then in 2007, we largely did a lot of development or maybe initial works on power exchange. So putting the design process. The first thing was what should be the model, what should be the processes for running a power exchange, what should be the technology, who all should be there, and then applying to CRC, then getting approval from CRC, and whole of this. And there was a lot of coordination happening with the CRC, because that was also first time for CRC and first time for us. So a lot of to and fro happened, and in 1.5 years we could get final approval for starting the exchange. So when we started IEX in 2008, we had very small team, and of course I took responsibility of business development, and of course one or two my senior colleagues also joined, who took up different on the operation side. And then we started this exchange. And good thing is that in 2 years, we got this through as break even. And then initially, we had to convince distribution companies, the generators, captive generators, and we could get a good set of market participants in 1 or 2 years. Almost in 1 year. And after that, we saw this opportunity of getting CNI customers on board, because till that time there was a regulation for open access, and also there was a law, Electricity Act was there, which allowed the CNI customers more than 1 megawatt to buy power from third party. But really that was not happening. Then we started looking at this segment closely, because our market was a bit less liquid. And that time when we used to trade for in the season of monsoon particularly, we saw that suddenly the demand is not there for many hours in the day or some days together. Because when there is a monsoon all throughout the country, then the demand is less, buyers are not there. So then you don't discover a price. So that was something uncomfortable for us. So we thought if we have CNI customers also on the exchange, then we will have good liquidity all across the year. And then in so in 2009, first time we got our open access customer on the exchange. And that was a breakthrough for us. And then we also started on term ahead market in 2009. And so that actually we continued developing the market further. So total in 2-3 years, we got something like 4,000 customers on board. So that was significant milestone. And of course, We had been looking for opportunities to go for cross-border trade that time. We were also looking for opportunities for gas trading. So as early as in 2008, we started working on gas, and we were exploring opportunities for gas markets, looking for right time to enter into that segment. Only thing is, we were not able to see that it's really time for gas exchange to start. But of course, the time for cross-border trade was there. REC market we started in 2011, so that was also our initiative, which finally resulted into a regulation, because in 2007 itself we started working on REC market, how the market should happen in India. And of course, in 2009, CRC took this up as one of the new segment. And when Dr. Dev joined, he took this as Dr. Dev joined as chairman of CRC. That time he also focused on starting a REC market. And in 2011, we got the regulations in place. And 2012, we finally started. So REC market happened in 2012. Then also we were working for energy saving certificate markets, but that took some more time because there was a PAT cycle for 3 years. After in the third year only the trade was to happen. So that happened in 2017. So, but meanwhile we were working for the green market. We were working on intraday market, cross-border trade. Of course, it did not happen that time. Cross-border trade only happened in last year, when all the formalities required for facilitating such trade were completed, and finally we could do in this cross-border trade in April 21 first time. But the efforts started from that time onwards. And green market, on that also we started working something like sometime in 2015-16, and we saw this as an opportunity. And finally we could, finally CRC agreed for our proposal, and then it happened only in last year, August 2020, not last year, year before last, when CRC issued, approved this our green market proposal. So it has been a good journey, good experience, new markets. And now when we, in 2019 sometime, we again explored the possibility of starting a gas exchange. Again, we were looking for some regulation to come from the government on gas exchanges, but that was not there in 2019 also. But we decided that, okay, let's start a trading platform, not exactly as authorized gas exchange, because if regulation is there, then anyway we can start it as an exchange. But if there's no regulation, so in case there's a vacuum, we can start doing trading through our platform, and later we will adopt the regulation and we'll go by the regulation and get approval. So June 20, we started as gas trading platform. For that also, because this was a new sector, new set of participants, some participants are common, but very few major participants are not common. So like GAIL, ONGC, Indian Oil, HP, BPCL, all these companies are not part of our electricity market, but new sector was there, new segment, were new set of people, new set of regulation, and this commodity is a bit different. So there is some similarity, but it is not similar completely. So because there is a limited network available, then there is some storability of gas in the pipeline, which in case of electricity was not there. So regulations for electricity are different, and regulation for gas is different. The way it gets transported, it is being regulated, is very different. We don't have a federal structure for in the gas system, where the state also has got some jurisdiction. In case of gas, it is completely with central. But we don't have a distribution companies like state distribution company. We have a very small distribution company, which we call as city gas distribution. So a lot of, one is that we have to go through complete new regulatory framework, the sector segments, and we have to also see the legacies which are happening through big corporations like GAIL, ONGC, and what system is already there. So we have to align all our processes again for this sector. When we started in June 20, so we were really had started with very robust processes in place. And after completed 1 year of exchange operation as authorized gas exchange, I can now say that yes, we have really done it well, because no default has happened, no disputes have happened, and we have come to a stage now when we are doing almost like 20 million MMBTU per month. So that's a good chunk of gas. It is like almost more than half of a gas which comes in LNG vessel. So more than half of the vessel, you can say, we trade every month. Now people feel that it's significant, of course, for any entity to be in the first year to achieve this. And we have seen that gas exchanges elsewhere in the world also, they have taken much more time to stabilize. At least in Europe also, what all the exchanges have at least taken 4 or 5 years to actually get liquidity. But in the first year, getting this, and then we hope that, and this, what we are doing trade is only say less than 1% of total gas in the country. And so we have a lot of play again available in the gas system. In this particular sector, good thing is that almost 30% of gas is just traded in a short-term market, where in case of electricity, you have only 10% of power is getting traded in the short-term market. So in case of electricity, you have 90% long-term. In case of gas, it is only it's 70%. So 30% play is still there with us. And as we go in future, more of a spot play will happen. So your 30% short term can expand to 40, 45 in next 5 to 10 years. So there is a big play available. We hope that we will be doing good in case of gas also. So for me, satisfying thing is that a lot of things which we were working for electricity, that also happened. Cross-border trade, real-time market, green market, all of that happened in last 2 years during COVID times. And this gas also, which we were looking for so much time, and we started during COVID period, and we completed 1.5 year during this period itself. And still, with all of these challenges, we could come to a level where we can say that, yes, it's working.
No, that's great and very interesting, journey and trajectory of that. Let me get into specifics now. I really wanted to know that how did you grow in that 1 year, the first year of operations, where you had to convince discoms and generators. But maybe I'll come back to that to later, because I would first like to understand how does a Indian trading energy market functions. So let's bifurcate it into two parts. Let's start with electricity first. Why are such platforms needed in a country where there are long-term power purchase agreements? A power generating company can directly sell to a distribution company in a state. So what was the need for these platforms to be needed? And then if you can also delve into what kind of contracts they offer, and what were the major regulations that came in from the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, CERC, as you mentioned, and what are the key players that have emerged. Obviously Indian Energy Exchange is there, and how does the market look like now? So if you can tell the journey of India's electricity trading market.
Interestingly, actually, any part of the world when you have electricity markets, the markets generally structured in the same manner where how we are structured. So largely, it is PPA. You have very little of short-term transaction, and only thing is in other many countries they have provided a roadmap where they see, okay, initially there will be long-term PPA, but slowly it will fade away and more of short-term PPA will come. But only thing is in India, we have seen almost in last 2 decades or maybe 1 decade of operation of exchange. This percentage of long-term PPAs continue to remain almost like 90%. And spot or short-term, you can say, is only 10%. So this is a bit of a challenge to expand the market in case of electricity in India. But the good thing for exchange is that exchanges provide lot of benefit to the customer. One is that it is ease of doing business. If you want to trade, you simply come on the exchange. It is IT enabled, and then you do the trade. One is that you don't need to negotiate, you don't need to sign a contract, and then all of those things are simply away. And then you get a very transparent price coming in the system, and you get a lot of competitive offers. So competition, transparency, and ease of doing, and then for the seller, big thing is that you get security of payment. So all of this, if you see, so within even 10% short term, this was making a sense for electricity exchange. Second thing is that India is such a diverse country where in one part of the country you will see it's raining, other part of the country may be undergoing through high temperature. There will be some demand some part of the country, and there will be some excess happening in some part of the country. Like we have diverse resources. So coal is there in one region, so you will have more coal-based power in that region, but that can flow to other region. Now with the renewables coming in, wind will be there in one part of the region, solar will be there in one part of the region, hydro will be in another part of the region. And then there will always be some demand fluctuations happening. It will not be that there is a peak for every state all the time. So when it's winter, there is a very low demand in north, but south will continue to have some demand, average demand. But during summer, this snow melting gets you a lot of hydropower, and that can flow from north to south when there is a summer all across. So there is a lot of diversity. So that also makes very strong case for exchange in India. If there is similar parameters available in any other part of geography in the world, then this really is something which fits the case. So this is the basic thing. Second thing was that we also have very good regulations in place. We have got good act in place that allowed competition, that allowed consumer to buy power from third parties. So this is all good thing which has happened, and the good thing they were there. So some, if you see from hardware side, there was some hardware available that was good. Network was good, congestion was less, and of course, as we started exchange, initially there was we were facing a lot of congestion because first time the power was actually flowing as per the merit, and not on contracts. But if there is a cheaper power available in north and you have a lot of demand in south, so a lot of power will flow. So before that, there was not much of power flow happening from north to south because it was not on cost basis. It was more on a contract basis. But when through exchange, it started happening on the cost basis. So that actually required more transmission. So good thing is that planners and policymakers saw this happening and also augmented the capacity, transmission capacity. So today, if you see, we have such a strong network available in the country that there is no system congestion. So initially there was congestion. We saw there is a congestion. Exchange gave signals for removing those congestion, and then they were implemented. That network was strengthened, and then finally it was cleared. One is that on the infrastructure also, hardware side also we had good thing, and then we also did many right thing so that this market will flourish. And the soft side also, regulation side, policy side, so a lot of things were already there, and we also actually over the time we have tweaked our policy, tweaked our regulation to align this with the market requirement. So this was, of course, big achievements. But if you see on the other side, we have now good set of participation in the market from distribution company. All types of generators participate in the market. But one big segment which we otherwise could have seen coming into the market directly is corporates. So today we did not see corporates coming to the market very frequently. Of course, at one time there was a lot of open access happening in the market. So from 2009, 2015 we peaked, and then after that many states started applying some barriers to open access. So one is that they increased their surcharges. So they put some non-tariff barriers also, that certain conditions were imposed so that there is less of switching away of these CNI customers outside their system. So this is something which today we lack in a sense, but otherwise our markets are really doing well. The liquidity is good, but still, if you see that we are only 6% exchange-based market volume is only 6% of the total consumption. So still there is a lot of room to grow for the market. Only thing is we need to make some few changes in the policy side. We should see that our long-term PPAs are not extended, and people we should give freedom to distribution companies that they should be able to buy in a shorter duration so that they don't need to bear the burden of fixed charges for 25 years. Few things we think is required, and good thing is now with the real time market coming again, this was something which was desirable, and market needed that kind of segment since renewables have come in, solar, wind, and you only can forecast their generation very close to the real time. So real time market is really playing a very, very important and important role. And I think this market will grow faster than the day ahead market. So today, real time market is about 20% of total volume we trade on exchange in all the segments. So this is something which is going to stay and grow more than other segments. Second thing which happened recently is that there was a clarity brought in terms of law that long-term delivery-based contracts can be launched by the exchange like ours, and derivatives can also be launched. Of course, not by IEX kind of exchanges, but it can be launched by derivatives exchanges like NSE and MCX. So that's also another thing which is good happening in the electricity market. Ancillary market is also being talked about today. That will help system operators to take care of the intermittencies and other issues which are very relevant for maintaining the grid security. And then we will also have some time in future retail competition. I think that is something which we should be looking for. Of course, today everyone is more busy with energy transition issues. But of course, once we have some tools for managing energy transition issues, then retail competition is another one which is big ticket reform which need to happen in the country. The customer should have choice. It is like any other commodity. If you see today, you have a choice. But in case of electricity, a household doesn't have a choice. So even a household should have a choice. Corporates definitely should have a choice. And then another thing which we think should happen more in case of corporates is that today corporates need some method to become green or offset their carbon footprint. And for that, we have very limited tools available currently in our system. So we have only PPA. PPA means you sign a PPA, buy green power from third party, and then meet your requirement. But that really doesn't work for renewables because some industry will have some requirement during the daytime. That time your wind will not be operating or it will not be operating in that season. So you can't have these two coinciding together, demand and supply. So there is a concept called virtual PPA, which we think is now time when we should have these virtual PPAs where corporates can do a PPA. Only thing is this generator will not be selling to that corporate. It will be selling its power to exchange as per its generation profile. And the green attribute arising from that will pass on to the corporate. And only thing is corporate will underwrite that whenever he is not getting money, which is from the market equal to whatever agreed price, that price will be compensated by the corporate. So corporate will undertake that, okay, you will get whatever your agreed price is. So some part of that price you will get from the market. Whenever you sell, it can be say your agreed price is 3 rupees. Sometimes you sell it in the market, you get only 250. So 50 paisa will be compensated by the corporate. But in lieu of that underwriting, this corporate will get the green attribute. So, and this corporate can continue buying power from its distribution company, So it will meet its power requirement, it will meet its carbon footprint offsetting requirement. So by doing these two, he is able to meet his ESG requirement. If they have ambition of net zero or maybe carbon, maybe 30% carbon footprint or maybe 50% carbon footprint offsetting, that kind of target they can meet through this virtual PPA. So there are few things which need to work upon, and there are few things we have already achieved, and they are good, and they are working.
So, if I may ask, just for the understanding purpose, what are currently the typical contracts that a power exchange offers in India? And also, if you can explain how price discovery happens on these exchange platforms.
See, we have now day market, which is for 1 day ahead basis. You can do transaction for any 15-minute time block. That's our major segment. Then the second market, which is important, is real-time market, which is 1 hour before market, where you can place your bids 1 hour before, and 15 minutes you can get a confirmation, and then in last 30 minutes you can get a scheduling and confirmation that yes, this power is getting delivered to you. That is like 1 hour market, which we call it as a real-time market. Then we have a term ad market where you can do trade for limited period up to 1 week. Of course, this will expand in near future to maybe 3 months to 6 months, because we will be getting clearance from our regulator for doing forwards, which can go up to a year, and it can also go beyond 1 year. But more likely, exchange will be launching contract up to 1 year, which is for physical delivery. So physical contracts. These are like few electricity segments which we have. Then we have a REC segment where we facilitate trade of RECs. And then we have a ESET segment. An important thing among all is the way we discover the price is through double-sided closed auction mechanism. This auction mechanism, where buyers and sellers are placing the bids during one particular period. So suppose we take a day at market. So 10 to 12 is the time in the morning when we accept bids for next day. And after we receive all the bids by 12 o'clock, we carry out our matching algorithm, and then we come out with a common price for each 15-minute time block. And this double-sided auction, where we get a one price for that auction, is something which we found is most suitable, and this is working very well for most of our markets. So we have a real-time market. The model of price clearance is same. It is double-sided closed uniform price auction. Similarly, we have REC segment. There also the matching is similar. And then in case of ESET also. So good thing is that our regulator has found this mechanism of double-sided auction very, very suitable, where you don't know what can be your price coming out from the market. You have a variety of sellers, you have a variety of buyers. Every seller has got a different marginal price. Every buyer has got a different marginal value. So then if you run a double-sided auction, then you get the best price discovery.
I've always been curious, what level of intervention does the platform has in the price discovery?
There is none. There is no intervention we can do. It is all set, regulated, approved by the regulator, and there is no intervention. It's like all system or machine-based program, and where there is no manual intervention. Even time, we accept bids only till 12 o'clock. If there is some problem at some location, still we don't extend this time. So it is strictly closed auction where there is no price visibility, no bid visibility to the market at large, and everyone has to quote its best price. And then we discover the price, and that is also, so it is like automated system where you place your bids, you don't need to talk to anyone. Once we clear the market, we also convey the market results through our trading system. And then when the buyer has to make payment for its trade, and that part is also done through banks. and the bank accounts are linked with our accounts, and they are also almost back end is automated. And then transfer of money is also taking place without any. So there's no manual or calls which are required to be done for the whole cycle. Because the cycle is so tight. So we start the day at 10 o'clock with the bidding, and by 5 o'clock we actually settle everything. Only thing is the money we pay to seller is not same day, because deliveries happen next day. So we make payment to the seller only day after tomorrow. So that is the timeline in which we have to operate. And all the payments to required to be made for delivery, like we need to make payment to our transmission companies for the use of their transmission systems. It can be state transmission company, it can be interstate transmission company like Power Grid. Everyone gets paid on the same day. We also make payment to the system operators, like in case of national, it is NLDC. We make payment to RLDC also for some transaction. We also make payment to SLDC. So their system operating charge is also getting paid in the same day. So everything gets settled on the same day, and there is no credit is given to the buyer. It is all upfront payment, and then we settle the whole. So this is about there. And so we use similar mechanism, almost similar for all other markets. So real-time market also operate in the same manner. Term ad, which is very limited for 1 week, there also we operate in the same manner. Only thing is when we will launch a monthly contract or a maybe quarterly contract, then we have to have some system of some margins, which we are working on, and then we will finally implement that system with our long duration contracts.
That brings me to the question that we have had. I was thinking to ask earlier. How do you convince discoms to come on exchange? This is my first question, and I'll also ask a follow up. That in the recent times we have seen discoms rushing to power exchanges only when there's a kind of a coal shortage as there, and recently it happened last year only, and there were allegations flying that exchanges are making money out of this crisis situation. So I would first want to understand from you that in the initial years and even till now, how do you convince discoms and power generators to come on exchange? And second, how do you respond to these situations where the discoms they keep running to exchanges whenever they have their crisis at their own end, which is their own mistake. We have had lengthy discussions over it, that discoms do not pay to the power generating companies that they have contract with, long term contracts, and when there is shortage and when they cannot pay, when there are dues rising, they come to exchanges. So if you can address this very complicated situation.
No, the first part of your question was like how we get distribution companies on board on the exchange. See, when we started, the reason for which distribution companies were required to come on the exchange is to meet their shortfalls and surpluses. Like if you see in a day, a distribution company doesn't have a flat load profile. It has got very, very volatile profile. So during the night, there were very low demand. During the morning, again, rising demand. But in the evening peak, again, it goes to peak. One peak comes in the morning, one peak comes in the evening. So all of this is very, very varying. Every day it is different. Every week it is different. Every season it is different. So now if they have done a contract for long term or medium term, they cannot meet all of that to have this varying profile. So either they will have some surplus or they will have some shortage. It will not happen. So at one particular 15-minute block, they have requirement of 1000 megawatt, and they have exactly 1000 megawatt from medium term and long term contract. So it was easy to convince that if you need anything, either you should be selling or you should be buying. You cannot keep silent when there is a market available for you to actually exploit. That used to be the narrative that time when we started. As we grew and we saw that now every distribution company has got much more contracts done as compared to what they actually need. Then the narrative for them was that now they should be using market for optimizing their cost, not only for meeting their requirement, but they should be using the market for optimization. What it means that suppose they have got a long-term contract where variable cost is say 3 rupees, You know that if they dispatch that power plant, then they have to pay 3 rupees because the cost of coal is 3 rupees there. But suppose that time in the market you get power for 250. Why not you will buy 250? Because then you will not dispatch that power plant. You will save 50 paise on the cost of power, cost of coal. That is better that you save coal also, and at the same time you are saving money for yourself. So that was a big, huge case for every distribution company. Really, we are very happy that in 3-4 years after the operation of exchange, almost 95% of distribution companies were actually part of the exchange. Because even Nagaland, Pondicherry, Meghalaya, or maybe very small utilities, Daman and Diu is bigger. If you take any northeastern entity also, they were also part of the exchange. So we got good set of distribution companies on board. And today, if you see our real volumes, so maximum volume is being purchased by the distribution company, and maximum volume is being sold by the distribution company. It is not that your IPPs are selling on the exchange mostly. It is mostly distribution companies are selling. Almost like 60% of our volume of sale is by the distribution company. So there are many distribution companies. So all of these are actually optimizing their costs. So that actually cost saving is being passed on to the consumer finally. It is good that this market may be a small pivot in the whole system, but this pivot is playing very important role of balancing and most optimal allocation of resources and giving right price signals based on demand and supply. Now, the second query again is relating to suppose there is a now shortage of power because coal is not there, or that time your wind and solar is also not working because of monsoon or because of cloud cover. So, all of this can happen, and they do happen, though everyone has contracted a lot of capacity. But many situations keep coming when you have shortages. So that time they have no other option to other than coming on the exchange, because that is the only they see it as one is that they see it as optimizing mechanism. Second is that they also see it as a last resort for managing their shortages. So that is how it happens. And whenever there is a shortage, prices are going to go up. Not that somebody is trying to do it, because there is so much of competition among buyers that they compete, they want to outcompete each other in getting a small chunk of power which is available. First time when we got very high prices on the exchange in 2009 or 8 and 9, that time there was a huge cry that how the exchange can discover a price like this. Then everyone has gone through our mechanism. Everyone has gone through our matching algorithm. A regulator took a special note, and then they also did install a study to actually analyze it. But finally, they saw that this is the best mechanism to discover a price. Only way you can curtail high price is that you have to if you put a ceiling price. And now there can be a debate whether we should be doing ceiling price capping or not, because some people feel that you let market be free and let it discover, and then the one who is more needy, he will definitely place higher price and then get the power which is there. After 2009, again, there was really no apprehensions from any corners, at least on the policy side and the regulation side. So maybe there is a hue and cry in case in the distribution company because their cost of power is energy is going up. But otherwise, everybody knows that this is the right mechanism to go. In case the extreme such situations, government thinks that we need to cap a price, we can do that. It is like regulator has to tell us what capping to be done. But otherwise, from our side, we feel that the free market is better, and let it happen. And actually, our transaction fee or the revenue is not linked to price. It is only linked to volume. So we get 2 paisa per kilowatt hour of trade happening. It is not linked to price. So that statement is also not correct, or notion or perception is not correct that exchange makes huge money when the prices go up. And actually, when prices go up, the volumes may not be very high. The other prices, when volumes are high, the prices may be very mild or may not be peaking that time.
So that makes me wonder how things happen globally. And I remember discussing with you earlier also, you have had studied the European electricity market very closely, and you have often cited it as an example of how a free flowing electricity market function, and something that can be, when different countries can do it, then why can it be replicated in India? So before I go into this further questioning that why India cannot have a much more thriving market, can you explain us how European or other such electricity market functions? Some of the best examples that you must have seen across the globe.
Yeah, actually, European example is very, very relevant for us because they also have 29 sovereign countries, part of European Union. We have 29 states. They have more sovereignty, so more freedom, but still they have joined to in this electricity market. Actually, they run a very large coupled day-ahead market. So coupling means they exchanges in different countries. They have joined and they join their order books. It is like getting all the bits at one place, and then they discover a price, and they also take into account the transmission network congestion, and then they finally declare their prices. Now that is working very fine because what happens that you optimizes all the resources all across the Europe, and the same model we have. So at least there we see a very big similarity and maybe comfort that what we are doing is the best thing. If you see the European market, we already have 29 states joining, and in one exchange only it comes, or maybe two exchanges, all of that comes. So that is really fantastic. Where we find there are some differences in case of market segments. They don't have any real-time market. They have only intraday market, and intraday market is a continuous trade market. It's not auction market. But during in the continuous trade market also, they have coupled their intraday markets also across the countries. So that is like they are now getting similar results what we do with the real-time market. But of course, our real-time market I find is better than their intraday market because coupling is easy. We can work it in the auction mechanism in the very, very smooth manner, and everything happens very smoothly. There is no separate infrastructure required for like in case of their intraday coupling, they had to devise a new system for coupling this intraday markets, which are very different from the day-ahead market. The area where they are doing better is that they have good financial market. So all their transactions or trades or contracts which are beyond a day is actually is financial. It's not physical. So weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, and year up to 5 to 6 years, that kind of financial market is available, and financial market is really liquid there. So there, that gives a lot of comfort to all the market participants that they don't need to sign a long-term PPA. Rather, if they want to hedge their prices, they simply can go to the financial market and hedge their prices. So that's a big advantage they have, which we don't have, which we should be, I think, working on. Only thing probably we lack in terms of policy implementation is, or regulatory intervention is, that our open access is not very real open access. It's like flawed open access, or you can say that there is some. It's not implemented in the true sense of the word. So in the true spirit of the open access, whereas in case of Europe, it is there. So their open access is really open, and they have very strong requirement of unbundling. So their transmission system operators are separate from any trade activities. In case in India, like we have very strong independent open access in case of interstate transmission, but we don't have gets diluted when it goes to intrastate. Within the state, you have transmission and distribution handled by not same company, but they have a lot of areas to work on because they don't have Chinese wall among them, and there's commonality among board and board members, and chairman is common. So it is really, there is a conflict in the way the transmission and distribution companies operate within the state. But otherwise, in case in Europe, there is a strong requirement from European Commission that the unbundling should be real unbundling. Even the board members will not be common, and so they have put a lot of provision to ensure that when the countries, actually in their case, their countries have to implement that. So these countries should be very clear in implementing the unbundling provision so that the open access remains good. So that is the difference. I think otherwise, except for financial market and very good retail competitive market in most of the countries, not every country has got retail competition. But if you see all matured market like Germany, France, UK, Netherlands, Belgium, so they have very good retail competitive segments. So that is also area where we are lacking. But otherwise, in case of at least wholesale market, we are largely good, except for financial derivatives.
Got it. Let's just focus on gas exchange for a bit. We decided to discuss both. So I was just wondering, electricity trading has been happening for quite some time now. We discussed it's been a decade. Gas exchange is pretty new. But the question that comes to my mind is that electricity market in India is very, very different from gas or a fuel market. Fuel markets is a completely different ballgame altogether first. But in gas, India lacks domestic resources. So, how much sense does it make to have a gas exchange in India? And in this scene of scarcity, how does a gas exchange functions?
See, in case of gas sector, I'll just give you an overview that today we have a total demand of 160 mmCMD in India. So almost 50% of that is domestic and 50% comes from LNG. So LNG, regasified LNG is what we use. Now out of domestic production, which is about 80 mmCMD, almost 60% is something which is having very regulated pricing regime where price is fixed and then allocation is also fixed. So that gas is allocated to set segments. So like APM gas, we call it APM, which is the regulated price set by the government. Of course, there is a formula which is used for setting this price. So this gas is almost 60% of total domestic gas, but balance 40% of gas, domestic gas, is still having some freedom of price. So that is being produced by ONGC, Reliance, and few other KN. So these players are producing this 40% of domestic gas. So 40% of domestic gas has got some freedom, market freedom. It has not complete freedom. Now, if you see the LNG, which is regasified LNG, that is almost 50% of our requirement, out of which 70% is actually coming under long term. So that is being imported with through the long term contract. This long term contract can be 10, 15 years. And their price is also fixed. But when they can, and that gas can be sold as long term to the customer. So it means this 70% LNG can be sold directly as long term to its customer, or also it can be sold in the spot. So some part of LNG can also, long term LNG can come to the exchange. Then 30%, I'm talking about total LNG. So 70% is long term, 30% is still spot. The spot means they are being procured on monthly, quarterly, and 6 monthly or up to a year basis. And that is also sold in the market as a spot gas. So it means that we have a quite significant chunk of gas which has got a freedom that they can be sold in a different manner to the buyer. So this is where we would like to have our play. And we saw that this is also a right mix, because not every country will have this kind of mix of 50% domestic, 50% of LNG. Like Japan, the exchange cannot be possible because they have almost everything import. In China, they also have a similar thing where 50% is import, 50% is domestic. There also exchanges are playing very big role. Shanghai Petroleum and Gas Exchange is actually one of the major exchange in China, which is playing important role. And if you see in Netherlands, the TTF, TTF is another big benchmark in Europe. There also, why TTF developed as in a global benchmark or for Europe? The reason was that they also have some domestic gas. Some of gas is being imported by Netherlands, and that is getting traded on in their exchanges. And then you discover TTF as one important European benchmark. And we have good diversity of cell. As I told, domestic and LNG. In LNG also spot and long. In domestic also there is some which is regulated, some which is open. On the buy side also, if you see, there are some customer segments like fertilizer which requires gas. It has less elastic pricing. It means that it can take whatever price available. CGD, it is more sensitive. And if you go to power, it's most sensitive segment, because at some level of price, this is not the power is not dispatchable. So only limited price sensitivity, very highly sensitive to price. So if you see different, and then refinery, petrochemical, and then other industries like glass, ceramic, they have a lot of sensitivity to the price. So it means that there's too many. The diversity of buyers are also there. Diversity of sellers is also there. Then they have different locations, different parts of the country. So again, we see that the similar diversity can actually be very well managed through exchange. And when you have online system and you don't have to bother about signing GTA, signing GSA, people will really love this market platform. That is what we thought should happen. And we are seeing also. And again, the payment security issue in the minds of sellers is also very key. So that also we take care. So when we are there to resolve the bottlenecks in the current system, where people see there is a problem, they see problem in terms of pricing, because once when there is no exchange, people, you have to contact sellers, and there are say 6, 7 or 10 sellers, and then each one you have to contact, you have to get some email. Instead of doing that, suppose you come on the exchange, and a small customer will not have much of negotiating power. The problem is that a small customer feels comfortable on the platform where he doesn't need to talk about to anyone. So that way we see it is really win-win for everyone when we provide this platform.
The reason why I wanted to discuss the gas exchange also was that, in India there is a huge need for a bridge fuel in the electricity market. For something that is there for as peaking power. Will having a gas exchange and resource availability there, will it help in any way the Indian electricity market as well, where gas is readily available for power generators to take a stock of, as you mentioned, during a shortage period or during meeting a peak or something? Can both exist in sync and help each other?
Very rightly said, Shreya. Actually, this makes good sense for power and gas being coupled through these exchanges. Because, see, so far the way power plants used to buy gas was they used to sign a long-term contract or maybe a year contract. And problem was that if they are not getting dispatch because their cost of gas is more, then they can't do anything with the gas, because they have to purchase under this medium term or 1 year contract. Now, when exchange is there, our narrative is that they can buy exactly for the time when they see it is dispatchable. Suppose they see the summer is coming and price is going to be, say, 6 rupees per unit, because today, and really this is the case, today if you see, our market price for electricity is to about 4 rupees 50 paisa. So in summer, definitely it will be higher. So when you have May or June or April or May or June, it will be something like 5 to 6. And at that time, you want to dispatch your gas-based power plant. And generally in summers, gas prices are supposed to be lowest, because gas prices peak only during winter, because the whole of the world need lot of gas for heating, which is almost not there in case during the summertime. So that way they can actually buy only for the days when they actually see the power will be sold in the market. So they can buy for only peak, they can buy for a day, they can buy for a week, buy for a fortnight. So all of that flexibility, that definitely is a very big positive for the power plants. Only thing is, we are not sure to what extent prices will be milder this year. Particularly this year, prices have been very high. So that is the only issue. But otherwise, in all other normal years, you find that April to June, July, our Indian players or Indian power plants can definitely use market. And for other time of the year also, they can look at the price on the exchange, and then on the gas exchange, they can buy gas and they can sell power in the power exchange. So these two things can be very much synchronized, and rather we call it as a gas power coupling. So that can happen as we go along.
So, as I can see from here, there is a full-fledged, thriving electricity market. There's a gas exchange that has been launched, and in the electricity market, there's day ahead, there's term ahead. Now there's real time. Then there's cross-border trade happening. I believe Bhutan is there with us, which is all has come on the exchange to trade power with us. And there would be similar such contracts when we do much more cross-border trade. Then recently, CRC has also come up with something called the over-the-counter electricity trading. Anyone can come buy, sell, and trade. So there's a lot of action happening in the electricity space. Gas exchange has come, and as you mentioned, there could be a sink later. There could be a gas power sinking happening. But in this whole pie, one thing that seems to be missing is coal. And I've been very, very curious to know that why can't coal also be traded like we are trading electricity, like we are trading now gas? Do you think that there is a possibility? And if there is, what all is needed for it to become a reality?
Yeah, very relevant question, because why not we cover the whole of energy space, and coal is one of the actually prominent energy source for us. It's easy for having an exchange in electricity, because one is that there is no quality issue in electricity. Simply, you can trade in megawatts. You don't talk about quality. If you come to gas, you have to talk about quality also. But normally, gas in our transportation network, generally it is complied with. There is no issue that so once a pipeline operator accepts gas from source, it accepts only when there is specification is met. The requirement for pipeline is met by this gas. So, but still there is a issue that there can be some difference in gas quality in different places, and that has to be accounted. And for that reason, we also have actually moved away from quantity of gas to heat content of the gas. So our trade unit in case of gas exchange is MMBTU. It's not cubic meter gas, because gas from different sources will have different calorific value. So cubic meter doesn't make sense. So that problem we have managed in the gas exchange. But if you go to coal, problem is that coal has got a lot of variety in terms of quality. So one is quality. Second is that logistic issue. Gas flows can happen on the pipeline network, but for coal you have to transport. It can be rail, it can be trucks, it can be merry-go-round system or something like. So all of that is there. So these are the challenges. Of course, not that we cannot overcome these challenges by designing in a manner that we take care of this. And there are ways how to do that, because quality issue can also be managed if you set a price or maybe discover a price for one grade. And if you find the actual grade of coal is different, then you either derate or get some premium over the price. So we can find out some methodology. So that is why Coal Ministry has actually started working on starting a coal market. They are calling it coal exchange, and that they want to bring some transparency in this market, streamline this coal trades, bring quality under focus, and see that what they can do to maintain and guarantee a quality. Once it is agreed, how we can do that. So it has been more than a year. I think they are working with a consultant, and probably they will come out with some notification, draft order or regulation. We are waiting for that to come. So that is also in the offing. Hope we should be seeing some form of coal exchange or coal market in future, in next 1 year.
Let me ask you a couple of last questions. One would be on renewables, definitely. So, as I could understand how an power exchange, electricity exchange works, it suits very typically to renewable energy sources. Correct me if I'm wrong. The suitability with renewable energy sources is much more with exchange. Anyone can build a renewable energy power system and come and sell here. So, what is the possibility there? And along with it, if you can tell that what kind of role an electricity exchange can play in this energy transition that is happening in the country with lot of renewable energy coming up.
One is that without exchange, it is difficult to manage renewables. You can manage renewables only with having such platform where you can do trade faster with a shorter notice. So today we have gone up to 1 hour ahead basis. Our market, real-time market is 1 hour ahead. We can go closer also. So in many markets, they have gone closer to which we call it as a gate closure time. So gate closure today is 1 hour, but in case of Europe, many countries have got almost zero gate closure. It means that you just trade and you schedule it immediately. That scheduling will happen in the system operators system. So all of that is possible. So we now definitely are at the right time. We have put things in place, real-time market in place. So this can work fine for 1 or 2 more years. But as we deploy more of renewables, we have to again reduce the duration for gap. And then we will also have big tools like batteries, which will help us manage these resources. And batteries can also play a big role in the exchange. We can also see hydrogen coming in some avatar. Either hydrogen itself will be used for producing, or hydrogen can be used as a source, or it can be as a demand. So both ways it can be done. And hydrogen, when it will be there, probably it will also require some tweaking on the gas market, because finally, if we have a lot of hydrogen coming in, we can use gas pipelines to flow hydrogen. Blending of hydrogen will be possible. So today, I think is the right day for when we are talking about hydrogen, because the ministry is going to issue or ministry is going to issue some hydrogen mission for India. So that is, we'll see how this whole thing evolves. But I see that exchange will be a big enabler for transition. So transition, basically your hardwire requirement is that you need resources. So that is hardware. But on the software, you need markets. So you have to couple these two in the right manner. The right coupling of hardware and software actually should be working to make this happen. So good thing is that we are doing right thing on the putting right resources. We have put all the focus on solar and wind expansion, 500 gigawatt in by 2030. And along with that, if we are making or tweaking our markets in the manner that suits the participants, and it suits it is aligned with the characteristics of your resources and characteristics of demand side, then it will work very well.
Great. So my last question to you would be that the next big thing that the Indian energy market as a whole will see, what according to you would be that?
Yeah, I think that makes my reply a bit difficult, because there are two, three things which I think are very big. One is that I see derivatives are something on the market side. Soft side, you can say derivatives are big, retail competition is big. On the hardware side, hydrogen is going to be big. And batteries also will play important role. They will also, so not that it is either or, hydrogen and batteries, all of that will be required, and all of that will play their own role. And of course, the markets will should be there. And derivatives market actually is now required, because people don't really see a forward price curve. So for that, they need some kind of tool. Everyone has to. Suppose somebody has to invest in renewable sources. Then they want to know that what can be price 5 years hence, 10 years hence, 15 years hence. So today that's not visible at all. They have to do some exercise. I think everybody may be doing its own exercise, their own assumptions. But when you have a derivatives market in place and there is a price coming from the market, it is like amalgamation of all the everyone's minds into it and everyone's expectations, and then you result into some price discovery in the derivative market, and that gives the very realistic forward price curve. So that's required. And retail competition, of course, I see that household should get complete freedom for choosing its supplier, choosing what type of power it wants, how much green power it wants, how much gray power it wants. So all of that choice should be available to customer. And of course, battery and hydrogen are on the hardware side.
Great. So a lot of developments looks like they will happen, and we probably will get a chance again to chat on these new things that will happen. Thank you so much for talking with us. It was a wonderful conversation. I learned for one so much, and I believe our audience also will. Thank you so much again.
Thanks, Shreya, for giving this really opportunity. So we get more insights while talking to you. So it's great to talk to you. Thank you.
No, it's always it's mutual, but thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the India Energy Hour. Subscribe to this channel to never miss an update. To drop us a feedback, visit our website or write to us at theindiaenergyhour@gmail.com. We are on Twitter. You can follow at TIEH_podcast and get in touch with the two hosts at Shreya_Jay and at Sandeep Pai with double I.